Welcome to this week's Ancient History News. My highlighted story is about a multi-period site that's been discovered close to a spring in France. I also discuss another excavation in France where an unusual Neolithic monument made up of 3 enclosures has been found, a 7,000-year-old settlement that's been unearthed in Serbia, and the discovery of an L-shaped subsurface anomaly on the Giza Plateau in Egypt. Roman ruins found on top of a more ancient site in France. According to the French National Institute of Preventive Archaeological Research, Roman ruins have been discovered near the village of Chambéry in France. Dating to the 3rd century, the site consists of a pool surrounded by a wall next to a natural freshwater spring, as well as numerous Roman artifacts, including a ceramic face of either a deity or the mythical Medusa, pottery sherds, coins, ceramic tiles, and bricks. The Romans enclosed the spring in wood and redirected the water to a pool surrounded by an arc of granite blocks. There's evidence that they used tiles and bricks to produce a heating source as well. However, other finds indicate several prior occupations of the site. The dig revealed remnants of a rectangular dry stone building, post holes, and sand pits, all of which could be part of an Iron Age domestic dwelling or farm belonging to the Lemovices tribe. Few structures belonging to that time period have been found, so this discovery contributes more to archaeologists' understanding of Iron Age agro-pastoral practices. Finds which most likely date to the Neolithic were also uncovered, including pieces of flints, the fragment of a dagger, and a pit in the spring. The dagger is similar to those found at the Grand Prasini archaeological site in central France. This could mean the spring has been an important center of activity for different cultures over several millennia. Further studies are to be carried out, including paleo-environmental analyses, which will help clarify the chronology of the site. Unusual Neolithic monument discovered in France. The French National Institute of Preventive Archaeological Research has also discovered an interesting site in Marlin, 20 kilometers east of Dijon. They carried out the dig in preparation for the extension of a gravel pit and excavated 3 areas totaling 60,000 square meters. The oldest monument they discovered in one section of the site dates to the Neolithic and is unique. It's made up of a circular enclosure measuring 11 meters in diameter, an interconnected horseshoe-shaped enclosure to the north, and an interconnected semicircular enclosure to the south. The ditches of the northern and southern enclosures are filled with gravel, which shows there were palisades there originally. Radiocarbon testing hasn't been carried out yet, but the presence of flints suggests a Neolithic date. Artifacts belonging to the Bronze Age bell beaker culture were also found just under the topsoil. They include flint arrowheads, 2 archers' braces, a flint lighter, and a copper alloy dagger. Such artifacts are normally found alongside burials, but since these were not in a secure stratigraphic context because of ploughing, it's not certain if they were grave goods or not. The copper alloy of the dagger will be analysed to establish its origin, which will give further insight into trade networks at the time. Early Bronze Age wells were also found. Paleontological and carpological analyses will be carried out on the clay at the bottom of these to find out more about the environment in this valley 4,000 years ago. A necropolis of 5 circular enclosures covering 6,000 square meters and dating to the Iron Age was also found. 4 of these enclosures are open, with the largest measuring 24 meters in diameter, and 1 is closed. Due to the acidity of the soil, no complete burials survived. However, the remains of burials and a funeral pyre were discovered in the ditches of the largest open enclosure. This particular enclosure was dated based on 5 copper alloy pins and an amber necklace found in its ditch. Ceramic sherds found in the other enclosures confirm that the whole necropolis dates to the same time period. A second Iron Age necropolis was found 4 meters from the 5 enclosures. The archaeologists uncovered 6 urns enclosed with lids and containing cremations. Some of these also included jewellery. Analyses of the cremated bones will be carried out to find out more about funerary practices from this time period. No similar sites have been found in eastern Burgundy before. 7,000-year-old settlement discovered in Serbia. A collaboration between the Roots Cluster of Excellence, the Museum of Vojvodina, the National Museum Zrenjanin, and the National Museum Pančevo has unearthed a late Neolithic settlement near the Tamis River in northeastern Serbia. Very few settlements of such a vast size have been discovered in the region. Geophysical surveys revealed a village covering around 13 hectares, surrounded by between 4 and 6 ditches. Previous field walking in the area had also revealed late Neolithic artifacts belonging to the inhabitants of the village. Most of these artifacts match the style of the Vinca culture, who lived in the area between 5400 and 4400 BCE. However, some of them also reflect the material culture of the Banat people. Very little has been found in Serbia related to the Banat culture, so these artifacts are rare in the region. The discovery was part of a 2-week research campaign, during which late Neolithic circular enclosures were found in Hungary. In partnership with the Janus Pannonius Museum, the team found several of these enclosures, which are known as rondels, and were built by the Lengvel culture between 5000 and 4400 BCE. Other known sites in Hungary were also re-evaluated during this period using geophysical surveys. The researchers discovered that a settlement previously dated to the late Neolithic actually belonged to the Vustol culture, who inhabited the area between the late Copper Age and early Bronze Age around 5,000 years ago. This artifact is a wheel model that belonged to the Vustol culture. They also carried out the full documentation of a previously discovered late Neolithic circular ditch in the village of Vakani. Overall, the research will contribute to an interdisciplinary project that's helping experts to understand how knowledge and technology was spread in Southeast Europe in prehistory, and how these contributed to social inequalities. L-shaped subsurface structure identified in Giza, Egypt. Over the years, archaeologists have discovered several cemeteries on the Giza Plateau in Egypt that were found to contain burials belonging to Old Kingdom royalty and their high-ranking officials. One necropolis site, which is referred to as the Western Cemetery, covers an area measuring 560 by 370 meters. It is densely packed with tombs, which are mostly marked by above-ground structures made of limestone or mud brick called mastabas. However, in one part of the cemetery, in an area measuring 80 by 110 meters, no such above-ground architecture exists. Although extensive excavations of the mastabas and their associated structures have been carried out over the years, this blank area had not been surveyed to see if anything lay beneath the surface. So, a team of archaeologists from Higashi Nippon International University, Tohoku University, and Egypt's National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics carried out surveys between 2021 and 2023 to see if they could locate any underground archaeology in this part of the Western Cemetery. Using both electrical resistivity tomography and ground-penetrating radar, they identified 2 anomalies, one shallow and one deep, and have now published the results of their finds in the Journal of Archaeological Prospection. The shallow structure, which sits 2 meters below the ground surface, is L-shaped and measures 10 by 15 meters. It appears to have been backfilled with sand after it was built. Underneath this, the team identified another structure between 5 and 10 meters below the ground surface that measures 10 by 10 meters. ERT and GPR cannot differentiate between sand, gravel, limestone blocks, or an air void, so any of these could cause such an anomaly. According to Life Science, L-shaped structures have been found at Giza in the past. These were ancient offering chapels, but were always found above ground. It's possible that the shallow structure is an entrance to the deeper structure, such as a shaft leading into a tomb, but further investigations are required to determine the exact nature of both anomalies. That's it. As with many of my recent videos, we have more examples of a site being in use for millennia. Whether this was a result of the natural features of the landscape or because later cultures identified these areas as symbolic and sacred based on their use in more ancient times is not clear. Perhaps it's a combination of the two. Or maybe they were just being practical. It's easier to reuse an existing structure than start all over again. When I was writing about the possible subsurface tomb in Egypt, I started reading about offering chapels, and it's a really interesting subject. There were several different types of offering chapel in the Old Kingdom connected to tombs. L-shaped was just one kind, but there were also those in cruciform style and those that were open air or roofed corridors. Nearly all of them had false doors of varying styles, an interesting aspect of ancient architecture. There are Neolithic examples as well, such as at the Hal Saflieni Hypogeum in Malta and the Domus de Janus tombs in Sardinia. They were also a feature of Etruscan tombs. They didn't necessarily all have the same purpose, but it's likely they were symbolic rather than purely decorative. Although in Sardinia, the Domus de Janus tombs have many features that are thought to represent above-ground domestic dwellings, so it may be that the dead were housed in a way that was meant to resemble where they had lived. Anyway, it's an interesting subject in and of itself. I'll read up on it and do a video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. A big thank you goes out to my patrons and channel members. Your support means a lot. See you next time.